Hey guys, still here. Welcome back to Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. Or maybe I should say a newer version of Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts, because we are currently on Alpha 3. And in this video I wanted to quickly go over the patch notes. There's not going to be a whole lot of gameplay, mostly the ship designer, because the gameplay, well, it's going to follow in the next couple of weeks with various different ship designs that I've been able to come up with. Now, these are the most important changes that I was able to filter out from the patch notes. There are a whole lot more. If you want to read these things in quiet, in your own time, there is a link down below in the description. Alright, let's start. The new custom battle is here. Custom battle allows you to set all sorts of specs. It allows you to dictate how many ships you have, how many ships they have, what the starting distance is. I could bring this all the way down to 1,000 meters, so if you really want to go for a brawl, you can. I can up the early year all the way to 1940. More importantly, you can then design your ship. And over here, previously in the missions, you could set the parts by using that Control-Shift-Alt-A and then click Unlock All Parts. That's no longer here. That is now in custom battles, and in custom battles you just have everything. Dreadnought hulls, heavy cruiser, semi-armored cruiser, light cruiser, etc. Now there is not exactly everything, and that's because I set the... or I changed the settings over here. Let's see, I think 1940 should do. I don't want a heavy cruiser, I just want a big battleship. Can I do that? Design. No, it just gives me dreadnoughts. Ah, here we go. Unlock all nations' hulls for the selected year for your fleet. Unlock is on. Design ship. Now we have the super battleship, modern battleship, all the way through the dreadnoughts and whatever you would like. That is definitely an important change because it works both ways. In custom battles you can now design any sort of ship you like, but in the missions you can't. If I, for example, go to defeat the semi-dreadnought, and I now press Control-Shift-Alt-A, the game says, oh, dear player, if you want to play all hulls and parts unlocked without ship money limits, go to custom battles. So it's no longer in this main mission area, let's say. Now they said the damage decals are better, so you get more information of where a ship is damaged. You get better penetration information, so you know exactly how good your penetration chances are. Also very, very importantly, you get this, designs. You can set a current design or build a new design, and I can then go back to my previous design. So let's say the Posen, I'm going to just auto-design the Posen here. Done. If I now switch over to the König, it's a different ship. And this way you can keep experimenting. So let's say you have a ship design that works for a mission, and you don't want to lose it. You now can just save it. Just make sure you click New Design. And, of course, if you want to, you can set your own name for the design. This is also a very, very nice feature. Okay, what else? There are 6 new missions. A couple of the missions we already know, but, for example, Sink the Raiders is new. Defend our transport ships against 3 dangerous cruisers. Let's see what other ones were new. Meet the US battleships. Can't wait to play something like this. You will build a battleship, battlecruiser, or a heavy destroyer, or sorry, heavy cruiser, facing off against 2 battleships and 4 destroyers. So there are definitely a couple of new missions. Rise of the heavy cruiser. You get a heavy cruiser, and you're fighting off against 3 heavy cruisers and 1 destroyer. Now, if I open up this mission, I can immediately show you that you have new hulls. This is a hull shape that we did not yet have. It's an interesting design with these seemingly, well, I wouldn't call them barbettes necessarily, but they do have a lot more space for side guns. That also brings me to main towers, because we now get to deploy a modern main tower, and I think they added more slots down here. They did say that they gave you a bit more flexibility in where you build what. So I could have my main tower all the way pretty much amidships. Whereas previously it felt like you were more or less forced to have them, well, give or take about there. You can also have a modern secondary tower. And these just look vastly different from what you normally had. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a place for a funnel in here. Just Yep, an advanced funnel 2 can fit in there. Now, since I'm in the ship designer, there is something else that is very interesting here. You get a... I'm going to have to look for it here. I'm currently set to coal. Coal-fired boilers. This gives me less funnel capacity. But there is something else that the coal does. And that is that you get more dispersion of smoke. Let's say I have a big funnel over here. The secondary tower assists in aiming. But if it's covered in the coal smoke from the first funnel, then it doesn't work as well. If you switch this to oil, you get less of a penalty. And this is something that I think is a nice upgrade, because it allows you to actually get more out of whether you want to go for coal or oil. With coal being a little bit more floatable and less ammo detonation chance. But this one, not having those penalties, gets a buff to funnel capacity, but also a lot more engine cost and a lot more fuel cost. Again, fuel cost really not important, because I can just still, in the Naval Academy, drag this back to very short. But at some point, that will be important. What is next? They set the shipbuilding limit to 30 to avoid swarms. That's not exactly what it said in the patch notes. They just said we limited the amount of ships that you can have on any single mission to 30. Because apparently people were spamming ships like there was no tomorrow. And they were just building ship after ship after ship. Causing the game probably to lag, but also to give you far, far more ships than you would normally be allowed to have. So now you can no longer do that, and I think 30 ships should still really be enough to do anything you want. They also improved secondary gun pens and accuracy. So let's just say I would deploy a 555 in secondary, if I can fit one. These things were not really accurate. They now have an accuracy of 100% at 1,000 meter range, at about 9.2% at 5,000 range. And of course, this does go up if you get more range finding, or if you get better range finding, rather. Now, something like this just was not possible. Deploying 5-inch double turrets like this, you just didn't really have any slots until they added these new cruiser hulls. And it's not just cruiser hulls, there is more. Because there is also there can be only one. Create a battleship of the 1940s based on the legendary Iowa class and send it to combat against its mighty foe. A battleship resembling a Yamato class. So you can now have the big standoff between the Iowa and the Yamato. You get a lot of time here. 210 minutes. Sink 100% of battleships. If I start this one up, you can see that I already have part of a design that I was working on. And I left halfway because I was just checking out the features. But the design is still saved. So if you're building a ship and at some point you have to go, you have to do something else, you can just click exit. You can load back into the game, you can start it again, and your ship is still there. I think this new save design feature is really, really handy. Now, something else that is important, especially for battleship longevity, is that torpedo boats are less resilient. I was quite frustrated with one of the missions where you have to... Yeah, this one. Destroyer versus torpedo boats. The torpedo boats were seemingly almost impervious to my fire. The gunfire was just more or less hitting the ships. I mean, it's pretty early age. They were more or less hitting them, but at the same time you were just barely doing any damage. So this was quite frustrating, and apparently I was not the only one experiencing that, and they have made the torpedo boats less resilient. Something else that is less resilient is HE shells. The HE shells are not as OP as they once were. I think that's a good thing. Because the HE shells, well, you could just burn down a ship as much as you would like. And that apparently is no longer as possible. Something else that they changed has to do with the type of propulsion or propellant for your shells. They changed or rebalanced the cordite / 2-powder / TNT. Starting with cordite. Cordite is not exactly safe to use. They do get a lot of HE fire chance and shell damage, but your chances of getting detonated are also pretty poor at plus 20% chance. And you get more chance of actually being put on fire yourself. Then you get 2 powder. This has far less ammo detonation chance, but it comes with a couple of penalties, because this one does not do nearly as much HE fire chance, nor HE shell damage. The shells are still quite expensive, and you are getting a buff to your reload into your shell penetration, but the question is that worth it? And then you get TNT. These are still seemingly all round the best at a cost. Because whereas these give you a shell cost of 650%, these give you a shell cost of 1100%. That is a massive shell cost. And especially if you're building a ship which has a lot of shells or a lot of big shells, well, good luck. You're going to be shelling out a lot of cash. What else did they do? They added new torpedoes. Interestingly, on the modern battleship, you can even have torpedoes. So I could set up a deck launcher, and these things now have the standard specs, but I can upgrade these. Not there. I can set the torpedo propulsion, and unfortunately I don't have the required tag here, but normally on a different mission you would, to oxygen-fueled torpedoes. They get 50% more range and 55% less torpedo detection range. They do reload fast or slower. Their torpedo launcher cost is quite high, and there is a chance that the ammo gets detonated. Now, let's say that you have a big torpedo. These have a distance of 9 kilometers. You can all the way up this to 23 and even 24-inch torpedoes. These are currently the biggest torpedo tubes in the game, and that again is a new feature. If I set them to 20-inch, the range is still 9, but if I then at some point get oxygen-fueled torpedoes, that gives me 50% more range, so you could start flinging torpedoes at about 13-kilometer range. That's not bad, and especially in the battleship missions, that could make for some really interesting effects. It'll also keep you on your toes more, because you might need something like hydro or acoustics. You need to be able to find those torpedoes before they just silently approach your battleship and blow a big hole in them. Now, late tech torpedoes also got a damage buff. I'm not sure if these are classed as late tech torpedoes. But what I did notice is that later on, as you were playing the battles, let's say more towards 1940, the damage for the torpedoes was just a little a cluster. You were doing damage, sure enough, but it was not a whole lot. And apparently that's scaled now. And about torpedoes, you also get the anti-torpedo protection, anti-torpedo 1 through 5. This no longer just comes with more floatability, it also comes with less acceleration. Normally you would just get more floatability, but this time around, Anti-Torp 3, for example, also gives you 4.5% less turning slowdown and less acceleration, again by 4.5%. Because, well, your ship is just going to get, well, fatter, basically, without trying to fat shame the ship. It's going to be a different beast. You might not take as much damage from torpedoes, but you will also be less capable of dodging those torpedoes in the first place. So this is something that you will have to keep in mind as you're building your ship. Next, Citadel armor increases armor quality. Now, they said that the Citadel armor is still very much in fluid state. It's definitely going to change again. So by the time that you're watching this video in a couple of months, it might not even be accurate anymore. Armor quality is currently +0, and now it's +10. And that's for Citadel 4. If I go for Citadel 5, I get 18% armor quality. And I wonder, does that stack? Yes, that does stack. And I get 118% armor quality bonus. So yes, this very, very much stacks. That is a lot of bonus. It is also quite expensive. Citadel 5 does get your armor cost up by 75%. Gets engine damage chance reduced and ammo detonation chance reduced, which is also very fortunate. But again, you might not be able to afford this on every ship. You might not even want this on every ship. They also said there was a rebalance to steering and maneuvering. This means that your ship is going to be hopefully also improving formation maneuvering. They said that the improved formations is a thing, and that the AI should keep their formation a little better. Now, I already covered the new towers and hull types. There is slightly more flexibility in mounting guns, towers, barbettes, and funnels, as we have seen. But let me just show you over here. Oh, we got a new tower, the Super Pagoda Tower. And I'm not even Japanese. Nice. Normally, I think I would go for Modern Tower 2. Yeah. You would fit all those secondaries on there, but now you can get the Super Pagoda Tower. Look at that. That looks fancy. Why is this different? Or how is this different? You get a little bit more aiming speed. You get 1 point more base accuracy, 3 points more long-range accuracy, more communications range, more torpedo spotting, more tower spotting. Oh, actually, no, sorry, you get less torpedo spotting. Modern Tower 2 has plus 92 and this one has plus 85. But of course, it comes at a price. Your target signature goes up, which means that you're easier to hit. What else? Improved AI design, or improved AI ship design. Okay, this is the modern battleship mission. AI, show me what you got. Ah, there we go. Geez, look at how high up those guns go. Whoa. Okay. So this is the ship that the AI came up with. It got 18-inch guns, 12 of them. I'm not exactly happy with their 4 weight offset. I would do that different myself. Apparently they were also able to fit another 2-inch gun right next to that barbette. A couple of 5-inch guns. The Pagoda Tower is bristling with 3 inches. We got 5-inch guns on the side here. Another 4-inch gun. Yeah, I wouldn't exactly design this myself this way, but I think it is interesting. And it should also make for more interesting opponents. Because overall, in the previous version of the game, the AI got some, shall we say, interesting designs, which weren't always as ideal as they potentially were. Something else that I have noticed that I wasn't able to find in the patch notes is the gun range. The gun range for these guns is currently 31.1, but I was able to get, let's see, which powder was it? Ballastite. I was able, here we are, super heavy shells. My gun range is now 39.3. I think that is greater than it was. But I am not 100% sure. Yesterday I was able to get it to 50 kilometers. Now sure enough, you probably wouldn't be able to hit anything at 50 kilometers. But it is a possibility that you would have a forward spotter. Let's say a destroyer maybe. And then you have this super heavy battleship somewhere almost over the horizon lobbing shells at the enemy. That is something that you could probably do. Yeah, I think that this is all for the patch notes. And again, this is not all that there was in the patch notes, but I don't want this video to be about an hour. So that's why I'm not covering everything. If you want to have a look at more, you can do that by clicking the link down below in the description, and you're going to get to the blog post with all the new features. Now, there is a lot to unpack here. There are a lot of new design options, especially with custom battles. I think you can have a lot of fun. You can just go ham. And you can even select your nationality. So if you want to per se build a British battleship and unlock all the parts, you can. I can go for a British modern battleship. Let's say, could I build something like a Nelson? Maybe. If I go... No, I only have one modern tower. I think building a Nelson in this particular hull type is going to be pretty tricky. I don't even know what guns the Nelson had. 16-inch? Yeah, that on this particular hull is not going to work. But yeah, you do get a lot more flexibility in where you want to place stuff. Anyway, this was all just patch notes. Soon I'll have more videos up on the game with a lot more gameplay. So you can actually see all the different designs, you can see all the different ships, and, well, they're just going to be my designs. What are yours? What do you want to build? What do you want to see? Let me know down below in the comments. And of course, again, if you want to read all the patch notes, link it down below in the description. Thank you for watching. Hope you found this quick overview useful, and have fun building your new warships.